Wynoriffic Something described as being both beautiful and horrific at the same time. Greetings, my dear listeners, and welcome to another Wynoriffic Wednesday. I am your ever-curious hostess, Lady Noelle, here to guide you through another evening of tales that blur the line between the stunning and the sinister. Tonight, we delve into stories where the ordinary twists into the extraordinary, weaving beauty and horror in a single, haunting tapestry. Our first tale tonight is a chilling reflection on childhood fears and the sinister echoes they leave behind. Year of the Clown, written by the masterful N.M. Brown, recounts the story of a parent's desperate attempt to shield their child from a world grown unnervingly clownish. But when past trauma and present danger collide, no amount of preparation can avert the haunting truth. As performed by Danielle Hewitt, I present to you Year of the Clown.
You should really pay attention to the things your kids watch on TV. I remember the first time I was snapped from my cartoon-laced delusion. I lost a part of my childlike innocence that day. That helped shape my views of the world forever. My older sister and I were watching television like we did every evening before bed. It was the early 90s. I was barely 6 years old. My sister was almost 9. A special report from Illinois popped onto the TV showing a large man. He wore a sinister grin that was exaggerated by a smear of red makeup. Blue triangles took up most of the area around his eyes. The rest of his face, white, like cold cream. His suit was complicated. A strange clown suit. Half of it solid red, the other half red and white striped. A frilly red and white collar puffed from under his second chin. A white gloved hand was raised in a frozen wave. The newscaster said the man had been arrested for taking the lives of 33 young children, mostly boys. We lived nowhere near Illinois, but my young mind didn't understand that. I barely was able to understand or process what I was hearing. All I knew was that 1 hour ago, I liked clowns. After seeing this, I was terrified, especially being a young child myself. I can't remember this next part, but it was talked about so much by family members over the years that I almost feel like I do. 6-year-old me burst into hysterics. I was heard throughout the house wailing to my sister, "But Bubby, I thought all clowns were nice." It was an hour before I was able to be calmed. My dad sat me down, got out his map of the United States and showed me how far away from Illinois we were. When that didn't work, he explained to me that they'd caught him and locked him away. The world was safe from him forever. I couldn't understand why anyone would want to hurt children, let alone a clown. Clowns were supposed to bring joy, happiness, and laughter, not hunt down kids and stack their bodies underneath his house. My father distracted me with something normally forbidden for bedtime: ice cream. My childhood innocence and mirth slowly returned with each syrup-drizzled bite, but only a percentage. Before long, my dad was able to get me to fall asleep. A part of me knew it still bothered me. I just couldn't figure out why. Flash forward decades later. I'm divorced with a 15-year-old son of my own that my ex Brandon and I share custody of. I still absolutely hate clowns. Last Christmas, Brandon sent me a wind-up clown figurine, a special fuck you for the holiday season. I tried to be the bigger person. However, I couldn't help but send a thank you card in response. It contained only 5 words. Thanks for the excellent gift. If that wasn't bad enough, the new year brought a new trend. News reports all over the United States are appearing left and right about all things clown sightings. It's quickly becoming known as the Year of the Clown. They're popping up everywhere: schools, supermarket parking lots, forests, backyards, etc. Some stood there harmlessly, but there were others with far more sinister intentions. A part of my subconscious reverts to the age of 6 every time a new sighting is announced. I'm too jumpy to conceal and carry, so I always keep a knife on me, just in case. I figure it's only a matter of time before one pops up where we live. If I ever do encounter one, hopefully it just stands there like a creep. It's a juvenile event for sure, but one that seems to unnerve the whole country. Halloween's barely 7 short months away. Brody will be 16 by then and too old for trick-or-treating. I still can't help but worry about the upcoming holiday. He'll most likely want to go out with friends, and I'd stopped accompanying when he was 11. If the clown shit didn't let up, I'd have to keep him home this year. I'd rather have him pissed off at me than in danger, or worse, dead. The trend intensifies, spreading worldwide now instead of just being limited to the US. The week before Halloween has rapidly approached, and I'm arguing with Brody about wanting to go out. After telling him for the 10th time how I won't change my mind, even though it hurts me to say, he charges off to his room and slams the door. The moment it closes, I hear a torrent of furious swears of complaint from within his room. Later, I feel bad about what has happened, and go to his room to end the night on a better note. The space under the door shows the glow of his bedroom light, signaling that he's still awake. After a quick knock, I turn the knob and open the door. Within the hoarder's hell that is his room, I finally locate a Brody-shaped bundle underneath the covers of his bed. He must have dozed off with the light on. Not wanting to disturb him, I turn off the light and shut the door. I wash the dinner dishes and turn off the kitchen light before attempting to head to bed myself. I hover over the sink and look out the window while I let my hands air dry. The blood in my veins chills as I notice something out of place in my periphery. A motionless figure stands out against the blowing branches of the trees at the edge of the woods. A clown, with electric green hair and red makeup on a white face. I clench my eyes shut and slam my hands on the ledge of the sink to try to wake myself up from the nightmare before me. When I open my eyes again, no one's there. I blame it on exhaustion. It's easier to accept than the truth. And go to bed. Clowns chase me through my dreams till the morning. The morning greets me with sweaty disdain. I awake disoriented and more tired than I was before I went to sleep. After making sure that Brody is set to go to his father's house for the weekend, I head off for work. It's an uneventful workday, just how I liked. There's a gas station less than 2 miles from my house, so I stop to get some twisted teas and L&Ms. The cashier tells me to have a good night and be careful. I'd nod in response and open the door to leave. The sun starts to set early this time of year. When I walk out into the parking lot, the clear blue sky is already replaced with a pink and orange sunset. My car turns the last corner before home, and there it stands. The green-haired clown. He stands off in the woods staring at me. A white-gloved hand creeps up to wave and freezes, just like the clown from the 90s news report. My mind instantly takes me back there, and I struggle to keep the car on the road. It's difficult to perform such an adult task while reverting to such a childish emotional state. When I look in my rearview mirror, the clown is still at the edge of the woods, but is walking in the same direction that I'm driving. What's the point of all this? There are hundreds of people nearby to harass. Why choose me? I pull into the garage as quickly as I can and hit the button to lower the door. I hold my breath until I hear it close behind me. I run inside and quickly call the police. After the operator takes my information, she tells me there's been several clown reports lately, but so far, They've been harmless. She assures me they will investigate it before hanging up the phone. My mind races. I've run through the house checking all doors and windows to make sure they're locked. The woods at the edge of my yard look no different than they do any other night. The assumption's made that the police are on their way to check the neighborhood. So I start to relax a little, with the help of a drink or two. 4 teas in and it's cigarette time. Even though Brody's not with me this weekend, I still go to the garage to smoke. Because of me coming out here to smoke, my garage has become a place of comfort and relaxation to me. I sit on the steps and listen to the crackle of the tobacco taking flame. I've been smoking since I was 14. It's been the longest commitment of my entire life. I love everything about it, having only stopped once when I was pregnant with Brody. I catch myself humming a tune that I'm not too sure of. Halfway through my cigarette, a sound rings through the acoustics of the garage that doesn't belong. A click of a car door handle slices through the silence like a katana. There's barely any time to move or react. Tufts of erratic, electric green hair poke out through the top of the door as the figure stands to get out of the car. He walks toward me. He's cocking his head to one side, then the other, like a dog, sizing me up. He's cornering me in the direction leading away from the door leading inside. This is bad. "What do you want?" I shout at him. No answer. I take out my wallet and throw money at him. "Here, just take this and go the fuck away, please." Again, no answer. And he's closer to me now than ever. There's not much room left behind me until I'm backed into a corner, and I have limited options. He stops about 4 feet away from me, reaches into his clown suit and pulls out a gun. Terror invades my skin like dry ice, burning me yet chilling my bones at the same time. Before he has time to shoot, I rush him with my knife. I'm able to tackle him to the ground and the gun falls from his hand. Something about the way the gun sounds when it falls bothers me. I see a rush of red spread under the floor beneath us. It doesn't make sense. The gun didn't go off. No one's been shot. Realizing it can only be one other option, I pull away from the figure in the clown suit. My knife has sliced clean through his chest, almost directly where his heart is. I can't feel a wrist pulse through all the frills of the cuffs of the clown suit, so I have to remove his mask to check his neck. Lots of emotions hit me at once, each one more heart-shattering than the one before. I scream. I sob. I claw at my face with lunacy at the horrific situation. Laying in front of me is a teenage boy. There's no pulse to be found because there's no life in his body. I've taken that away. The gun he pulled was a too realistic water pistol. I hug his blonde hair to my chest and stroke his lifeless face. The police will be here soon. I want you all to know how it happened before they take me away and everyone makes their own assumptions. I've always done my best to make sure to be a good mother. The saying goes that a parent should never have to bury their child. Can you imagine how I feel, being the one that actually killed theirs?
The innocence of childhood is a fragile thing, and clowns, once symbols of joy, can all too easily become agents of terror. Let this story remind us, dear listeners, that the things we fear most are often the ones that hide in plain sight. Our second story takes us into the ethereal and unsettling realm of out-of-body experiences. In Cassandra O'Sullivan Sachar's Untenanted, we meet Hailey Abbot, A woman who discovers she can leave her body at will. But such gifts often come with a price, and as Hailey explores her extraordinary ability, she uncovers a betrayal that changes everything. Brought to life by the voice of Michelle Kane, I invite you to journey with us into the mysterious world of Untenanted.
When Hailey Abbot was 6 years old, she discovered she could leave her body. Stuck at the fabric store with her mother instead of curled up on the couch watching Saturday morning cartoons with her dog, Hailey was miserable. She hated fabric stores, hated how her mother spent hours caressing the brightly colored bolts beneath her fingertips. "We'll just pop in and out," her mother would say. But then she'd start conversations about quilting techniques with the ladies in the store, and Hailey would end up sitting on the dusty linoleum for hours on end, aching to leave. She didn't know what a crazy 9-patch pattern was and didn't care about backing versus basting. It was so boring. Staring at her open-eyed body propped against the set of shelves in the flannel section, she figured she had fallen asleep, but Hailey could see everything around her clearly. It wasn't like her regular dreams, where objects looked fuzzy as if she were wearing goggles. She even noticed a fleck of dried ketchup on her other self's chin. When she rubbed her own face, she felt the dry, flaky texture. It seemed wrong somehow, seeing herself this way. She searched for her mother at the back of the store, still chatting away. Hailey knew she wasn't supposed to interrupt when grown-ups were talking, but she did it anyway, wanting that creepy feeling to go away. "Are you almost done, Mom?" But her mother kept talking like she wasn't even there. Hailey reached for her sleeve, but watched as her fingers slithered right through. Her chest tightened, as if she were underwater and needed to come up for air. She felt a pulling sensation, a frantic tug to her other self. Hailey allowed herself to be dragged back to the flannel section and poured into the body like pancake batter onto a griddle. She opened and closed her fist, making sure both selves were working together as one. "Mom?" Her voice, loud and quavering, must have indicated her distress, for Hailey's mother rushed to her side. Crouching on her knees, frowning, she felt Hailey's forehead. "Are you okay, honey? You look pale." Hailey was a good girl who tried to tell the truth. But when she opened her mouth, all she said was, "I think I need something to eat." On the car ride home, belly full of ice cream, Hailey thought about what had happened and decided she couldn't tell, even though it scared her. Especially because it scared her. The next time Hailey left her body, she was in 3rd grade, taking an oral spelling test and trying to picture the word homonym. Her teacher, Miss Goldstein, had a poster behind her desk with that word written on it, but Hailey couldn't see it in her mind's eye. Then there she was, staring at it. Hailey flushed red, waiting for the teacher's reprimand for getting up during a test and for cheating. But Miss Goldstein simply gave the next word: repetition. Hailey's other self sat at her desk, unmoving, not writing a word. She didn't want Miss Goldstein to notice. She rushed back into her body and resumed her exam. By middle school, Hailey had learned some control, though she still slipped out of her body accidentally at times, often when distracted or upset. She could now leave at will, but she remained careful. Once she had gone wandering, for that's what she called it, while watching television with her mother. She knew no one could see or hear her, and she had built up endurance to go for longer times and farther distances from her body. She passed through the door and glided down the street, moving lighter and more gracefully than when in her body. She watched the late summer sunset, appreciating the creamy sherbet colors bleeding into each other, before heading back inside. But when she re-entered her house, her mother's screams filled the room. She jumped back into her body. "Mom, stop! What are you doing?" Hailey wrenched her mother's arms away. "Hailey! I thought you were dead. I called 911. Her mother spoke into the phone. "She's okay. I don't know what happened." Yes, I will follow up with the doctor." "I'm fine. I must have fallen asleep." "Your eyes were open. They were about to have me do mouth to mouth." With her mother's face a tear-stained mass of anguish, Hailey's guilt consumed her. From then on, she limited her wandering. She'd leave her room with the door locked and music playing. If her mother knocked on the door, she'd have a few minutes leeway to say she hadn't heard her, an interlude to do whatever she wanted, with no one the wiser. Hailey's power enthralled her. Sashaying outside in the dead of winter in her pajamas, she didn't feel cold when wandering and left no footprints in the snow. Nighttime was best, for her mother was less prone to check on her, and Hailey adored watching the nocturnal creatures. The deer, guileless to any presence, munching away on the grass, while the wolf stayed in the shadows under the moonlit sky, waiting for the opportunity to begin his hunt. Only Hailey, undetected, could view nature's majesty this way. She stayed away longer and longer, heading back when her lungs started begging for air and the tide pulled her back to her body. Hailey wondered if there was some great purpose as to why she could come and go as she pleased, a reason she could shed her flesh like a winter coat. But she had no insight and no one to talk to. Her wandering was just something she could do, like how some people could wiggle their ears. She gave up questioning and focused on enjoying her secret, until she was caught. The Russos lived a few doors down from the Abbot's house. Hailey wasn't really listening when her mother told her about the elder Mrs. Russo moving in. Hailey had babysat for the family a few times, but little Charlie threw terrible tantrums, so she pretended to be busy unless in dire need of cash. As Hailey sailed through the neighborhood over a sea of fallen leaves one autumn evening, the old lady standing on the lawn seemed to look straight at her. By now, Hailey was accustomed to this discomfort. She didn't bat an eyelid.
"I see you, Hailey Abbot."
Mrs. Russo's voice, full of gravel and razor blades, reverberated out to her. Hailey slid to a halt. How did this woman know her name? Better yet, how could she see her? "You can see me? You can hear me?" Hailey approached with caution. She couldn't believe it, not after all these years going unnoticed.
"Clear as daylight. Better than my ruined eyes can see from my actual body."
She gestured toward the house with her thumb.
"I'm inside, lying in my hospital bed. Now that I can't walk, can't really do anything, I like getting outside for a change of scenery, and I pretend I can breathe this fresh air. Meanwhile, my earthly lungs are chock full of fluid."
Hailey gaped at her. There was so much to ask. She wanted to feast on the old woman's wisdom like it was a big, thick steak.
"Cat got your tongue, girl? If you've got something to say, out with it. I don't know how much longer I have."
Hailey didn't know if Mrs. Russo meant she'd need to go back to her body soon, or if she was suggesting that she was dying. She didn't want to be insensitive, but she wanted more information from this single person who could understand her gift. "You wander, Mrs. Russo?"
"Ever since I was a girl, but I call it traveling. And call me Agnes."
She smiled, eyes gleaming.
"You?"
"Since I was 6. Hailey started blurting it all out to the stranger, spilling the secret she had kept from the first time in the fabric store to her longer and more recent trips, nearly 12 years later. She said so much so fast that she almost didn't notice the familiar feeling, the constricted lungs and wrenching back to her body. Agnes knew. Of course she did.
"Young lady, this has been a pleasant gab session, but I can tell you need to go. Tomorrow, Same time, same place?
Hailey nodded, regretting how she had monopolized their conversation, wishing she had asked Agnes about her own experiences. They met the next day, and the next, and Hailey remembered to listen rather than share. Agnes understood Hailey's need for guidance.
Look, sister, I'll tell you what I know. I've been traveling for 70-odd years, but the doctor says my days are numbered. Somebody might as well benefit from all this knowledge. If that person is you, and I can help you, great.
Agnes told stories about leaving her body for hours on end, giving Hailey tips on building up strength so she could do it too. She regaled Hailey with tales of going backstage with the Beatles and standing by as Queen Elizabeth ate her dinner.
I had to haul my earthly body to England first, but the sky's the limit once you park your carcass near Buckingham Palace. I boogied right past those guards with their big silly hats. I had a ball.
Agnes sighed, a small smile playing at her lips.
What I wouldn't give to be in your shoes now, ready to start your journey.
Alive with possibility, Hailey planned events in her future. As soon as she graduated from Blackthorn High next month, before she started college, she could do whatever she liked. What great fun it would be, enjoying life in a way almost no one else could. Following Agnes's example, she could go anywhere, do anything. Walk through every velvet rope to the most exclusive celebrity parties if she wanted. Or maybe slide down Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon. One day, at their normal meeting time, Agnes wasn't waiting for her. Panic coursed through Hailey's veins. Had she passed? Agnes had said she wasn't long for this world. Hailey didn't want to intrude, but she peeked into the Russo's house to catch if her friend was okay. There lay Agnes in the hospital bed, looking so much weaker and smaller than how Hailey knew her. Her eyes, cloudy with glaucoma, were open, but Hailey knew her friend was still alive. The machine at her bedside registered a weak heartbeat. If Agnes was out wandering, where had she gone? She was always there for Hailey. They were there for each other, the only two people who understood this special talent. Hailey left the Russos and searched the neighborhood. Maybe Agnes was out on a nature walk, but she couldn't find her anywhere. Her chest burning, Hailey headed home, saddened by the lack of connection. She passed through her front door and into her bedroom, anxious to get back into her body. But her body was no longer lying in bed. Instead, Hailey gasped in horror to see herself sitting at her desk, laptop open to a travel site, singing along with Spotify to Hey Jude. Hailey tried to climb back into this moving, blinking being, her body, but there was no room. Though her lungs gulped for air, Hailey realized she wasn't feeling the gravitational tug to come back to her body. Instead, she was being pulled away in another direction. Weak with betrayal, she let the current drag her in. She knew where she was headed. She just needed to breathe, and she'd come back to claim what was rightfully hers, her body, her life. Down the street she soared, through the front door of the Russo's house. She had no choice. She climbed into the atrophied figure stretched out on the bed, desperate to release the pressure in her lungs. Hailey waited for the heaviness to abate, but if anything, it had grown. She took deep, gasping breaths, unable to escape the vice clamping her chest.
Help me,
she croaked. Mr. Russo rushed in and grasped her hand, a shriveled, veiny claw.
Mom, I'm here. The doctor said it won't be long now. You'll be at peace.
Hot tears leaked out of eyes that were not hers, and the thin chest that was not Hailey's moved up and down, and finally stopped.
Ah, Hailey, how cruelly the tether between body and spirit can be severed. Her story serves as a cautionary tale. What seems like freedom may, in fact, be a trap, leaving us searching for a way back to what we've lost. You can hear more from both Danielle Hewitt and Michelle Kane over on the Creepy Podcast. Check them out by visiting www.creepypod.com. And so, my dear listeners, as this Wynoriffic Wednesday draws to a close, let us reflect. The most chilling tales are not those of monsters or ghosts, but of the choices we make and the truths we uncover. May your nights be filled with Wynoriffic wonders, your secrets carefully guarded, and your steps taken with care. Until next time, I remain your devoted hostess, Lady Noelle.